So it occurred to me about like 10 minutes ago, I guess, that while I track the history of Surrey Central, West Village, and the King George Hub, I might as well just wander off across here the river and see what I can find about this place that's cool. How about that? Can you see the big barge down there? I don't know if you can see it in the river. I bet you can. Yeah, thanks a lot, idiot. Fuck. Fucking idiots, eh, man? Wow. Sometimes I make these films and I just blab over whatever the fuck I want to talk about, right? And I'll tell you, like, good God. A lot of the whiteys out here are real fucking idiots, man. Alcoholics and shit like that, right? Ugh. And they're also full of themselves. Like, it just, they walk around like fucking big hamburger type, you know, thick wrists and all that, right? He's just an idiot. Fucking idiot brain and a brute's body. Fuck. Okay, I'd like to get away from this wind. I don't know if the sound on this is any good, then I'm a genius, and I'm not a genius. So I bet that this is really going to be lousy. Okay, there's the lads hanging about. They're train spotter types, dirty junkies. But what they forget is the pleasure of it, said a young Ewan McGregor. They talk about the sickness and death, and broken families, and suicides. They talk about, but what they forget, that's what he said, what they forget is the pleasure of it. Okay, so recently someone asked me what I thought heroin addicts were doing. You're like, why do they live like that? Eh? And that's definitely a big part of the answer. I mean, they don't do it for nothing. You know, you have to, if you're going to understand heroin addiction, we've got a lot of heroin addiction to understand, then we have to understand it. And that's a big part of this. What else would there be? To make you act like such a maniac, right? Like, of course it's a fantastic thing. But like, it's just really dangerous. I remember when I was a kid, that's how it was always explained. They said, yeah, it's fantastic and you won't be able to quit. They were just honest about it. I think that it makes for an interesting phase of one's life to be heroin addict. Like, either you've done that or you haven't. I think that's probably quite an intense experience, or rather, like, dozens of them all the time. Sorry about that. Try to get it out of the wind here. Is that going to sound any good at all? The thing is, you feel like filming here because it's just all so dramatic. There's the Fraser River down there, right on the other side of those red lights. And what they do here a lot is that they take the facade of the older building and they keep it, and they build a great big glass thing on top of it. And sometimes it looks really good, and sometimes I think that they just build it to make it look like that's what it was. Like, I don't think that this building here was ever actually. Might have been. Maybe that was the original one. It looks pretty, doesn't look knocked up enough to be really that old, I don't think. Yeah. Will we make it to the river? It's always a question, isn't it? Do you make it to the river or not? Not going to make it that way. Might be interesting, or shorter to go that way, but more interesting to go this way for sure. I'm gonna film myself. to just, I can film myself. All I have to do is walk past the windows. I want to see how scrawny I am. There you are. See? I see you. Hi. My nose is like fucking Pinocchio's. That must be from all the lying I've done. Okay, that's a story, all right. My nose is, it's like I'm a Pinocchio, but I'm not a kid. I'm an old man Pinocchio. So my nose just sticks right up there. I didn't realize that I look like that. I didn't know that. Because my jaw, because I go in an age, so my jaw's gonna be like sunken in, right? It's gonna make it's gonna make my face look like a beak. That's what's happening. I find that hilarious. I find this place just crazy. There's more of the lads hanging around. If we want to go to the river, we have to cross this bridge. It's not that bad. Probably want to focus the camera away from the population. I'll feel more comfortable. Sorry about the flash. So this is what it's like. Day in the life of a YouTuber. Isn't this great? So these stairs, you don't have to just climb them, right? Like this is a really high, that's a really high pedestrian bridge. Because there's so much really heavy rail goes through there. So that bridge has to be really high. I just feel physically tired actually. Let me find a better location. It's always nicer by the water. Or so the old folks say. How many minutes is this now? 8 minutes and 26 seconds. It is, it's just always nicer by the water. Of course, if you could afford it, you'd live right beside the water. But you know, the rising sea levels and all that. Doesn't seem to stop people though, does it? Like, doesn't seem to stop them in the least. We're living through a really dramatic and sensitive and important and serious legal case. Canada is as a whole. The politicians are supposed to be representing us. And what we want to know is whether or not it was legal to bring in the Emergencies Act. Because all of the reasons that they gave for bringing in the Emergencies Act, in fact, weren't true. They lied about almost everything. There were some yahoos there, of course. But that was people who are willing to drive the trucks across Canada to fight a tyranny. That's how they see it. I understand them. Because I'm one of them. They're protesting tyranny. Specifically, what they were trying to take away was your right to bodily integrity. That's serious business. And so it turns out that the mandates weren't even agreed upon by anybody with any knowledge in epidemiology. Like, it's just so ridiculous. You have to watch the hearings. It's on this guy's garage. this guy's garage emergency act, you're gonna see 10 pieces of footage that will go down in Canadian history as being really extraordinary, seriously extraordinary. Chrissy Freeland is in there. As though she doesn't take the situation seriously. She works for the other guys. The WEF. She actually collects a check from them. So she came and she smugged and smirked and didn't answer a single question. Was called what was it called? Reprehensible. I think it was worse than that. An NDP said that contemptible. Yeah. I think that in fact what he says first is that she's contemptible. He said you're contemptible. Like imagine this. In a committee hearing, the NDP guy, who I really like, I think his last name is Green or something like that. He's smart and he's hardworking. Because she won't answer a question. And he finally kind of loses it, right? And I think that he did call her contemptible. And then I think she said, well, it's not, right for you to call whatever she is, finance minister and deputy prime minister. It's kind of a big deal to call her contemptible. And he said, yeah, I agree and I apologize, but your behavior is contemptible. He said that to her. And so how could that happen? Really high-ranking NDP guy talks in those terms to Christy Freeland, and nobody in Canada knows it. I wouldn't know it if I didn't watch this guy's garage. The reasons that they called it was economic damage, they didn't have data on the economic damage, and in fact, trade across the two countries went up during that period of time. From the beginning, I said the blockades were absolute idiocy. You're going to fight for freedom by limiting people's freedom to leave and enter their own country? I don't think so. That was fucking ridiculous. That was really bad. I hated that. It's so stupid. The thing is avoid any sort of violence, and honking those horns downtown like that was a bit of violence. It was a bit of violence. But I've met people that were there, and they said, no, I felt perfectly safe. They're all hardworking people fighting tyranny. They're serious people, quite often business owners and things. So, yeah, well, everything they said was a lie. They said that we started a fire in an apartment building. No, we didn't. What else was it that they said is really awful? Oh, and they said that the funding was coming from violent extremists were paying for it. No, they weren't. Like, that would be a reason to shut it down. If violent, ideological, whatever gobbledygook they throw at you now. Ideologically motivated, violent extremists. I think that's what it is, because that's what they're talking about. Ideologically motivated. See, I've forgotten the next word. Violent extremists. That's what they called us. That's where they said the money was coming from, and it wasn't. It wasn't. Okay, let's see if I only got 50 seconds or so. So, what else was it? Oh, they said that the police asked for it. No, they didn't. No police force asked for the act to be brought in. They didn't. And there had already been a negotiator went in and had agreed to withdraw. When they brought in the Emergencies Act, the truckers were all trying to get out of there and go home. This is how badly they screwed up. You have to watch this guy's garage. Emergencies Act. I can't miss it. It's the most fascinating piece of Canadian history I've for sure ever seen.